Are you gonna tell us why you were late to the cinema now then?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, do you want to hear it?
Yes, while you eat that pizza.
I tried to eat a pizza last week on air, and it's insanely difficult.
Yeah.
It's also kind of gross for everyone else listening.
No, some people are going to be into that. You know, kind of ASMR sounds where people, like, you know, like that kind of nice close-up, realistic sound of something.
Yeah.
It's normally something nice, like, you know, cotton buds in the ear or something. But
I saw
some people will be into
pizza eating.
pizza and
Oh.
sounds.
See, I saw one of a rabbit eating watermelon the other day, and it was pretty intense. Right, story time.
Story time.
All right, so yeah, okay, so well, obviously we're going through the house kind of renovation at the minute. So we had the builders coming in because they didn't come in yesterday. So, you know, obviously we had to get to the cinema for 10:10 or something. So I timed this out. I said, right, if I get up, you know, around 9:20 or something, I've got time to shower, drive across, no problem.
Was that your 8 hours?
No, it wasn't. No.
Yeah, no, because you messaged us at like 1 in the morning.
Well, I was up all night thinking about what the name of that Kendall mint cake was. Drive me mad. But I got it. Kendall mint cake. That's what it was. Yeah.
I think that's the one that you looked up, on your phone. Or
No,
Harry?
I was thinking.
No.
I was thinking of mint cream. That
Oh,
chocolate
mint
bar.
cream.
And then
sorry.
you have the Viscount kind of green wrapped ones. You know? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it just so happened that the builders arrived at that time when I was meant to be getting up and going. So they also decided to arrive a little bit late, and they were finishing their morning routine. So they had they had their cups of coffee. Those were done with, and then the next thing, of course, is to use the toilet.
The facilities.
Yeah. So I was in a queue with 3 builders.
For your own bathroom.
Yeah, using the toilet one after the other. And it was ridiculous. It was every time I would go, I'm in my pants with a towel, and that's pretty awkward with 3 manly builders around the house. But I'm like, well, you know what?
Normal Saturday,
Confident, I'll just,
know?
So, go to the door. Door's locked. Give a knock. Nothing. I tried the handle some more. No, it's definitely locked. Somebody's got to be in there. Knock again. Nothing. I say hello. Nothing. They just ignore me. Okay, right. Defeated. Go back to my room. Wait until I hear a flush and go back. Same thing happened again. The next builder had gotten in there before I got back to the toilet. This happened 3 times, one after the other, right? And if they're taking about 10 minutes each, that puts me half an hour behind. So I've got to jump in straight after the last person there. 3 men had just used my toilet, and I'm jumping straight into the shower.
Not just 3
trying
men,
to hold my
3
breath.
big builders. That
Yeah,
just used
yeah.
your
And
bathroom.
Did you say they just went to McDonald's too?
Oh, they had coffee. I don't know where they were from
Yeah.
or something, but yeah. So
Smelling lovely.
that put me in a bad mood, and half an hour later.
Were you? Did you shower then? Or did
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll just add to it. So the plumbing's not great in the shower at the minute. So it's either scalding hot, so just hot tap, nothing else. And if you turn it towards the cold side, it essentially shuts off. There's a little dribble, right? So the trick is you've got to take it for as long as you can. When your skin starts to peel off, you turn it to the cold side, and it kind of dribbles a little bit, and then it goes to just pure cold drips. Then you switch it back to the hot, and you've got a window of about 20 seconds there where you have tepid water to splash yourself with before it gets scalding hot again. So that's, you do that for 5 minutes, rinse,
And how
repeat.
long is this going to be going on for?
About October.
October.
So that's going to be, depending, see how all the kitchen stuff goes, and then we fix the plumbing.
Do you have showers at work?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
No,
So
that's-
it's, yeah.
Surely you should get priority in that bathroom queue.
You'd think. wouldn't
You would, yeah. I mean, the most awkward bit was that I didn't actually see any of them going in or out, right? So if I'd caught them at the door, I would have said, "Look, guys, I've got somewhere to be, somewhere very
Yeah.
important, right?" But I didn't see them, so every time I go back to the room,
I mean,
then I hear the flush. I leave the room. The next builder was already in by then.
or
So I didn't actually see any of
it's
them.
one builder doing a 3 flusher.
Hey, maybe.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sync Slate 6 movie podcast, where we talk about movies, major Hollywood happenings, and more. My name's Andrew. To my right is Joe.
Hey.
To my left is Arlo.
Hey.
And
Oh, you you bastard. That is mine.
Actually, I looked back and fact-checked you saying,
Yeah.
I've said hey every episode. You don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Which one didn't I?
The third one.
Oh, I missed out the third one. What was that, Toy Story one?
No, the one before that.
Well, number 3 was Toy Story, so...
Well,
Maybe
am I
get
getting
your
confused because it was Toy Story
fact-checking.
4?
Maybe one of your dedicated followers could chime in on this.
You cannot talk. It's podcasting law. You cannot
Wait,
talk into
do not talk. I have not introduced you.
We need a hammer and gavel here for order.
You ruined my joke now too. I was going to say to my other left is a very special guest, Larry.
Hey.
Right. I'm out. I'm done.
Should we talk about the trailers we saw
Yeah,
in
film
front of that? Yeah, because so Larry missed all these.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember what we got?
Yeah.
You're looking.
Jumanji 2.
Oh yeah, we did
Yeah.
have Jumanji 2. Seems like it's going to be a little bit different from the first one because they're not all teenagers this time. It's like Danny Glover and who was the other? Oh, it was
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito, yeah. So The Rock and Chris Rock. It's not Chris Rock.
No.
It's
Was there a Jack Black in one of these?
Jack Black's in it.
yeah. So
Okay,
basically,
okay.
like the four. So like Karen Gillan, Jack Black, Dwayne Johnson, and
Go on.
Kevin Hart. Are returning for the
Lineup.
second one, but they're playing different people who get sucked into the game. If that makes sense.
Okay, right.
Have you
like-
seen the first one of this?
No, I actually haven't.
The
Okay.
reboot.
Yeah.
But I know that they're teenagers sucked into the game in the first one.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's a couple of teenagers that are sucked back into the game, and I assume they're the same ones from the first film.
I don't have no idea.
And then plus Danny DeVito and Donald Glover. I don't know, to be
Danny
honest.
DeVito, I think, is a welcome addition.
Yeah.
I mean,
think
how
so.
much of the film's he actually going to be in, though? Because,
Hopefully, all of it. Love Danny.
I mean, it's The Rock playing Danny DeVito. I never thought I'd say that sentence in my life. Yeah, so kind
How
of...
do you think they pitched that for the sequel? So I'm going to be playing Danny DeVito. Sold.
I hope they keep Danny DeVito's voice and just have The Rock, just overdub.
Well, no, he just did
Yeah,
like
they-
an impression, didn't he?
Yeah, they won't do that.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So I
It's quite
imagine
good.
Danny DeVito's just going to be in the beginning and end of the film,
Yeah.
like before they go into
Jumanji.
Jumanji.
Is that what the world's called?
Yeah.
Jumanji
I think so.
World.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
like, it's meant to be. What's a video game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But in the original, it's a board game.
Okay.
It's a video game now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, how things change.
Yeah.
Generations and that.
And we
That
got
looks entertaining enough.
yeah, good for the school holidays, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I think I looked at you and just did a kind of money roll symbol with my hands. Because the first one was a real, big commercial success. But also was received reasonably well.
Was it?
People didn't
Yeah,
slate
I
it,
heard it was pretty decent. I have no interest in watching it, but
Are these kind of reboots? Because they're really. It feels like they're pumping them out. Kind of all these big 90s or even like early noughties. They're just making them again. Are these financially? Are they doing well?
yeah, big time.
I think the issue is we're going through a era of cinema where it's just the same old stuff regurgitated or brought back round. So
On
we
that
grew-
topic, Lion King.
Yeah.
No, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
when I
that
was
was
watching
another
that.
trailer.
Growing up in the 90s and then just watching the same films 20 years later is a weird sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But then it'll happen again in another 20 years' time.
And
probably.
for some things, it feels kind of deserved. So things like I'm thinking RoboCop, right? That was older, wasn't it? And that didn't benefit from a lot of technology that we have now to make things look more. It's meant to be futuristic, right? So if you look
Yeah.
back at it, it looks kind of childish and plastic, doesn't it? And then this, the reboot looked very good. So that was one of those where you think, right, it's worth redoing that.
Yeah.
But then the other things like, I'm thinking things like Total Recall and stuff was remade and stuff.
Yeah.
And I look at that and kind of think, why?
Yeah.
But did you like RoboCop? Or?
I like anything RoboCop anyway.
Do you?
I'm not very good at being critical of RoboCop because I'm
Is
just
that like
quite
your
a fan.
franchise that you're really into? I don't think I've ever.
I've seen the new
I've
one.
seen-
It just kind of it always stuck with me. I mean, I think I saw it too young, and it's pretty dark. Especially the old one. What's that drug, nuke or something? And it's
Yeah.
you see some pretty horrible stuff, and things like RoboCop being pinned down and sawing into him, and dismembering him. And
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so brutal. My dad, I really wanted to see it as a kid, and my dad recorded it onto VHS from the TV, but then actually went through and edited it so I could watch it because I think I was about 8 at the time, and it's
How did
fair
he
play
edit
to
it?
him. I have no idea. I think because he used to have a video film camera.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing the universal sign for the old cameras that you hold at the top.
It looks heavy.
So he had 2, and I think through that he could just cut it somehow. I
That's
should
quite
ask him.
dedicated parenting.
Yeah, it's quite nice of him. Now I think about it, I'm like, man, like even sometimes editing digital, like audio with this sometimes,
Yeah.
it's pretty tricky. But to do it tape to tape, and that the scene that turns him into RoboCop, like where he gets beaten up, it's brutal in the original, isn't it? It's really bad.
Yeah.
Just to emphasise, there wasn't a RoboCop trailer.
No.
There wasn't, but
But-
that's interesting.
I can ask you about this. Have you ever read any RoboCop Terminator crossover?
I've never even heard of this.
I think it's a thing because we had a Terminator trailer.
We did have a Terminator trailer
That was
with
the one
Sting.
that I found. Sting wasn't in it. That was
I believed you for a
interesting.
second there.
Well,
She does look like Sting. In it,
James
doesn't she?
Cameron's name was planted all over that trailer, which to me says they're trying to kind of refresh the franchise after what was Judgment Day, wasn't there? And
With Emilia Clarke. Was
I think
is
that
the
was that was Genesis, was it?
That was
with a Y.
Genesis.
Genesis spelled with a Y.
one? Wow.
Yeah, and that got panned.
Did it?
Yeah,
Yeah, and so did the one before with Christian Bale.
yeah.
That was the one
That's
with his
Judgment Day, I
meltdown.
think.
No, that's
That was-
Well, so which
Is it
ones?
Rise-
Which ones didn't get panned then? The first.
the first
That's
two.
it.
The
First
second
two,
one.
The
was
yeah.
second,
Judgment
but that's
Day.
what I wanted to say about that trailer is that it was like the Terminator in the second film, where he kind of melts into like liquid
Yeah.
metal, and then
The
travels
visuals
via
looked
that.
quite cool, actually.
Yeah.
I won't watch it.
And it was set in Mexico as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought it looked like a Mad Max film for the first 20 seconds of the trailer. They're just
Yeah.
chasing each other through the. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one that was worth rebooting, wasn't it?
No.
Do you not think so? Fury Road.
I think
Oh,
it's-
sorry. I thought you were talking about Terminator.
Oh
so
no. I want to move on.
Oh, you want to move on? That's what we do.
It's
yeah.
not RoboCop either.
I probably a hot take, but I didn't like Mad Max Fury Road.
I liked it.
I really liked it.
And I was like, fact of the day, Mad Max Fury Road was directed by the same guy who did Happy Feet and Babe Pig in the City.
You can see quite a lot of parallels between those three franchises.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No. I'm trying to think of one now, but I don't think I'll be able to.
Wait, do they all have kind of slight dystopian kind of? Well, obviously Mad Max is super dystopian, but I'm thinking Babe Pig in the City. There's some pretty dark kind of. I'm thinking kind of Animal
Dark
Farm kind of tones,
undertones,
kind of hidden right in there, the subtext.
No.
No. Maybe not.
What's the penguin called in Happy Feet? I can't remember his name.
Happy?
No.
Feet.
I don't know.
He speaks with his dancing.
Yeah.
Like Tom Hardy and Mad Max kind of speaks in a series of grunts and
Yeah.
pointing.
Love it.
He's
With
very
Go on,
good.
you got this.
Almost a primitive communication motif running throughout the three films.
And we nailed it.
So I've got some more straws I can clutch out.
Would you see this Terminator film?
Yeah, I would.
Would you?
Yeah.
Do I like what I need to know?
Maybe I'm a complete schmuck though.
I'm kind of I really like the first two, but there's been so many bad new ones, and they keep trying and they keep failing.
Exactly.
So,
I don't know where the continuity is. Like, are they just starting again, saying because quite a few franchises have done that recently, where they've just been like, okay, forget everything apart from the first film, and we'll start the new Halloween film that came out last year. They were just like, okay, the only one that actually counts is number one.
Yeah,
And we'll
it is a
continue
bit of
from
a
that.
typical excuse to just say, "Oh, this isn't actually canon."
But they didn't
You
they
know,
try
rather
and
But
we're
sometimes
getting
it's
rid
good
of
for it. Like, you need to do that. You're right. If there's so many trash films in there, why keep the lore going?
Yeah.
When you can just moviegoers these days are quite happy to go, oh, okay, I'll forget the shit and just we'll start again from because I like these characters, I like the idea, but I didn't like films 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Apart from Police Academy, they all hold up.
It doesn't sit well with me that they kind of pick and choose which ones. I feel like you either need to do a complete reboot of the whole franchise,
Yeah.
or extend it.
Then we're just gonna get a load of rehashed origin stories. Like,
Well,
if
then I
like
think-
number one, so like go back to Jason, for example. That number one, that first film was amazing, and then it went downhill from there. So why would they go back and then have to reintroduce Jason again?
That's fair. That's fair. It just makes me feel like they need to be a bit more selective. Stop trying to rehash things that were good at first and rehash things that were bad at first that could have been good.
Yeah,
That'd be kind of more worthwhile, I think.
Yeah, because then you could get into the territory of being like, okay, you guys go into cinema, you need to forget film 2, film 4, film 5 was alright, so keep that in.
And it makes it risky as well. So if they're rehashing a film that was really like Lion King, right? Lion King is perfect, and now it's really risky to try that again, isn't it?
Well, I've actually heard that. I mean, this comes from Rotten Tomatoes, so cannot necessarily be trusted. But I've heard that initial reviews coming back from Lion King are like middling, and I was having that same thought that you just had. That
do you see what I was saying a couple podcasts ago about the trailer, and it doesn't show any like mouth movement? Did you notice that this time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
But no, it does show one bit where Scar comes out and he starts speaking, and then you see it, and it's like, oh, that's not that great, really.
The more real it is, the harder it's going to be to dub it, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can get away with it on a cartoon because you don't need to, follow the movement of the mouth as precisely.
Yeah.
Who are Rotten Tomatoes, by the way? Are they like the Sink Slate 6, but with less esteem?
yeah, we know more than them.
Risky.
When we see it.
Very risky.
Going straight for the juggernauts of the industry.
It's a David and Goliath story. I am the proverbial slingshot.
You keep what you kill.
We're coming for you, Rotten Tomatoes. There was a Rocket Round one for like a karaoke sing-along, which just, yeah. I think you know my thoughts on that.
No, it looked terrible,
Yeah.
didn't it? I mean, was there that much singing in the?
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
Do you get the whole song?
No.
That's what I was thinking, because it's the same in Bohemian Rhapsody. You get snippets of songs. And so what? You're just going to be thrown in at like the second verse.
I really hate the way it was advertised as well. Everyone in the cinema is having a great time. They're all basically arm in arm, like, singing along to Rocketman. Reality, you're going to get to the cinema, there's going to be some absolute terrible singer just like screeching at the top of their lungs because they're obsessed with Elton John, and you're going to have to sit there and suffer through them just loving life.
Imagine how awkward it would be if it was like massively undersold and it was just you and one other person.
You stand up, the person in front of you's got a lighter out.
Well, then those two people are going to walk out, get engaged, get married, aren't they?
Yeah.
Perfect for each other.
Great meet cute.
There was Gerrard Butler looking very washed out.
Yeah, Angel Has Fallen.
Got that.
The third in the Has Fallen franchise, which apparently is a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a London Has Fallen.
I've seen billboards for that.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
I saw it when it came. Well, I didn't see it, but I saw it advertised when it came out.
What was the other one? What else?
Olympus Has
Right.
Fallen, which is not the same as
White House Down
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what I had in my head.
They came out of this like roughly the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, and one's Channing Tatum, and the other's.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and the other's Gerrard Butler.
I do like Channing Tatum.
Yeah, we all like Channing
Gerrard
Tatum.
Butler did not look good, did he?
No, he looks.
I mean, we didn't see him at Wimbledon this year either. And you always see him at
In
Wimbledon.
the finals tomorrow.
Yeah, but him and Bradley Cooper are always there, like front row centre.
Are they
For
pals?
the women's final or the men's?
No, just like through the entire tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Throwing absolute swag out there, but I haven't seen either of them.
Maybe he's
this time.
filming the fourth in the
Yeah.
Has Fallen.
Oh, God.
Wimbledon has fallen.
Wimbledon.
No, that trailer looked terrible.
He looked in a... Yeah, it was almost as though he owed quite substantial debts to loan sharks or something. That's the only way I can describe it.
Did you get a good look at his hand? Did he have all of his fingers?
As soon as he went into the forest and that old guy was pointing a gun at him, I was like, that's his dad. And he was like,
Dad?
Dad? I was like, oh, God.
And you'd never have that interaction with your real dad.
Oh, no.
No.
What? In what?
You
what
know,
do you
in
mean?
real life, if you were going, I'm assuming.
If I'm in the supermarket and I bump into my dad in like the meat aisle,
You don't go-
and I just saw him and I would go, Dad?
Yeah, exactly.
That's after he was pointing a gun at you.
And he's just he turns his head slowly with a pack of bacon in his hand.
Well, the twist is that they both told each other they were vegetarians.
I like having Larry on the podcast.
It looks so
So
bad.
this is
Also, Morgan Freeman's the president again. Are we in the Deep Impact universe?
Oh God, why do we love universes
Not,
so much?
not every film has to be shared with another.
Well, it seems like it does in Hollywood.
I don't think we're in. I mean,
I think it's Batman. I think it's part of the DC franchise, and they're gonna push Morgan Freeman. That is Morgan Freeman's the president, and then Fox is like hidden by society away after he stops being president, and he helps Batman do loads of cool stuff.
And this is all post Bruce Almighty.
I was going to bring that up.
Where he plays God.
And then further on down the line, you got what? Oblivion? Tom Cruise?
What else is he in?
What?
So is this in Shawshank? Shawshank's in this as well?
Oh, yeah, it got to be, yeah. That was before Morgan Freeman became
So
God.
we're just having.
It's a really
so it's
lovely
just a
story
Morgan Freeman universe.
Yeah.
about how an ex-convict becomes president of the United States of America.
There is like a few of those films where they've just been like, oh, this actor's in this film, this actor's in this film. There must be a connection between them. And it's
You know
just
what you can't?
ridiculous.
You know who you can't do that with? Sean Bean.
'Cause he dies.
He dies in every single film he's in.
Yeah, that's true. His Death in Equilibrium's the best. He just
Well, I think
pulls up
The
the book.
that
it's a
to
Bible,
me,
isn't it?
I thought it was a book of poetry.
Oh no, yeah, it's a book of poetry. You're right.
And then Christian Bale just.
so I think every film that we've seen with Sean Bean in it must be in a different universe, because every universe will only have one Sean Bean, right?
Stands
So
to reason.
That's the kind of the quantum reality here, isn't it? That there's infinite possibilities, infinite Sean Beans, and they will all die in a film.
Or TV series, a la Game of Thrones.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
You just ruined Game of Thrones for me. I've never seen it. I mean, actually, if
It's
I
Sean
saw,
Bean.
Yeah,
You-
kind of.
Get over yourself, Andrew.
I think it'd be
Been
more
out
of a
for 10
spoiler if
years,
we told you
mate.
that Sean Bean didn't die in Game of Thrones.
Oh, is it just me? I'm the only one that's never seen Game of Thrones. No, there's hundreds of you.
Dozens. Literally.
I really hate the smug people who've never seen Game of Thrones now, where they kind of got this sick pleasure out of how everyone was disappointed by the final series. So, well, now I won't bother watching 8 seasons of Game of Thrones if
I
the last
just-
season's so bad. It's like, shut up.
I can't stand people who've read the book, actually. That's my problem.
Joe's realised we're no longer guaranteed a radio slot on the and he's just bringing out F-bombs, S-bombs.
I'm gonna have to edit that out, aren't I?
You actually get edited quite heavily.
Fuck you, and fuck you for making us want to review Sleepless in Seattle. You irrelevant twats.
I really want you to keep that in.
I probably will.
You need to rethink your target demographic, guys.
Burning bridges left, right, and centre.
What I think we should do is a really sarcastic review of Sleepless in Seattle.
I was thinking that, tear it apart.
Yeah.
Apart from Tom Hanks, obviously.
Yeah, well, your boy, your homeboy.
Did you see what he put on Twitter, by the way?
No?
Well, I tried to cover it up as though it was Andrew who posted it, but
What?
it was his birthday midweek.
What was it?
Did you not see?
No, I didn't.
So I put our very own Andrew Slay would like to wish his hero Tom Hanks many happy returns for his 63rd birthday.
63.
Hashtag Tom Hanks. Hashtag Andrew for Tom.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's really good.
We haven't even started news yet, have we?
No. We're spiraling out of control.
yeah, we've lost the plot.
I think it's your turn to start first, isn't it?
News, who's got news?
News.
I have news.
Oh, that's news.
Thank you. You're still in your infinite universe of
Sean Beans.
I don't think there's any arguing against it, really. Is there?
The science is there. So, Jordan Peele is directing. Jordan Peele of Us and Get Out. If you guys have seen those, he has started production on a Candyman reboot. Do you know the Candyman?
Why?
I only know it from the playground.
Yeah.
When I was a kid and people say, oh, you say Candyman 3 times in a mirror and he appears. But I don't know what the Candyman looks like.
I'm thinking Candyland, the board game. That's all I've got.
Oh.
I was thinking Candy Shack, the film from the 1990s.
Do you mean
That's
Caddyshack?
Caddyshack.
Yeah, Candy
It
Shack.
wasn't just me. I thought somebody was off there.
Well, the Candyman just like I guess what it looks like, just a kind of corpse type scary.
Generic, scary.
Yeah, generic, scary big man, I guess.
What is he called? Candyman.
Because you say it, the law is. I can't, is it 3 times in the mirror or 5 times?
3
in
times.
the
Three
mirror?
times.
Do you remember that in school?
Wait, did Beetlejuice come before or after this?
After is my guess based on nothing, but
Because I mean, I know that the say it 3 times trope
right.
from Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Is Candyman?
I think Candyman's before that.
Oh, okay, right.
I think so.
No idea.
I feel like it was like 70s or
Yeah,
early
seems likely.
80s.
Why? Why is he doing this?
I don't know.
A
But-
guy with such great original ideas has made 2 of the best like horrors, I suppose you class them as, in the last like 10 years, as now going back and remaking something that no one really cares about.
Yeah, and do you feel like it's because Us got kind of mixed reviews? Do you think it's just a safe bet to?
Did it?
Yeah.
I thought it was
did.
amazing.
There's bits I really liked, but to watch that film, you kind of have to sort of ignore certain plot holes. And I found the more I thought, like watching it in the cinema, I was like, "This is amazing." But when I came out and thought about it, I was
So
kind of like,
I've got no idea what this is about, and I think I'd quite like to see it if it's anything in the vein of, say, Get Out.
yeah.
But I mean, is it in the same?
Psychological horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
But it's not as tight as Get Out. Is that what you're thinking?
No.
So what we're thinking is that he's getting scared that his last 2 films have gotten worse, and then he's just going for a...
Well, I don't know about all that because Get Out won an Oscar, didn't it?
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I think it was screenplay, which he wrote. So I can't imagine it's not all or nothing directing Candyman, and then he's not going to have anything to
Yeah.
go on to after this. Like he's now a sought after name in Hollywood.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I would imagine he's. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like a risky choice, but at the same time, I would assume there's a lot you can bring to a reboot of that franchise.
That's the other thing I was gonna say. Maybe he's actually got a really good idea to set the Candyman, to do something with the Candyman universe.
Yeah, especially given all the horror in Get Out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think it could be a really good.
I think it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'll watch it. But so what stage are we at the moment?
production.
Production. Okay.
So yeah, I guess that would be out for. What would you put that? Early next year, or Halloween next year?
Wait, it's being filmed.
Halloween
No.
next year is a
Yeah.
good safe
Yeah,
bet.
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. Some reboots, like horror reboots, have been quite interesting. Like the new It.
Yes.
That one last
Yeah.
year. And there's another one coming out soon. The second
Chapter 2,
Chapter
yeah.
2 is coming out soon.
Oh, that's good. This is quite cool though. So, it's being classified as a spiritual sequel. I guess that means it just draws from, but isn't faithful to the original. Based in Chicago.
Oh,
now
cool.
now gentrified Chicago.
Ah, okay.
So we're
yeah.
going to get some political undertones like we did with the other 2 then. Okay, I'm
Sweet,
on
yeah,
board with that.
Yeah,
now.
me too. Good on him.
Yeah.
My next bit of news is they're rebooting Power Rangers for anyone that cares.
Didn't they? Wait, I thought they did this quite recently.
They
They
did.
did.
I think it's 2017, wasn't it? Got canned though, didn't it?
I think clearly no one saw it.
I mean,
Is it savable? Can you do Power Rangers? I mean, it's not the 90s anymore, and it never will be again. I don't know if you can do Power Rangers.
it will be
And
in 71 years.
so just clarify the 1990s. Sorry, should have known these guys were too sharp to let that one go.
I wake up pretty early in the morning to get that one past us.
It will never be the 1900s again. So yeah, I just don't know if that will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, the Power Rangers for me is something I watched when I was like 5 or 6 years old, and that I
Same.
loved back then because it was so stupid, and so I don't know, out of the
I only found out recently that all of the action set pieces for the ones that we watched in the 90s, that's all the Japanese version, and they just filmed the interactions with the American Power Rangers.
You say it like I never thought of it, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
That-
yeah.
so,
Did you not know that either?
No, I didn't
yeah.
know that. That's,
Yeah, I found, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
now you say it, it's like, oh yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Well, rebooting the Power Rangers is fine because I mean that's what they did every single season, didn't they? Like there was new kids essentially that became the Power Rangers. That we must
I
have
felt
seen
like there was a bit
so
more.
many.
There was more continuity. They had a kind of a longer lifespan.
They were all
Yeah.
different. They were called different things, though, weren't they? There was Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, and then there was
but then there was
Ninja Turtle Power Rangers.
Well, there was this Turbo one where instead of like dinosaurs and stuff, they had cars that all made one big Megazord thing.
Yeah,
And
Is that what it's called? A Megazord?
I think so. Don't
Oh.
quote me on that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
you're right.
I felt like they all rolled one into the other quite well, and they had some momentum behind them, right? But if they just bring out Power Rangers now, nobody's thought about them for a while. The last film doesn't really count as bringing it to people's attention. It's
Yeah.
got nothing to back it up, right? If there was, say a reasonably popular TV series, then they could kind of use that as a platform now. But
Yeah.
they milked that, and now it's dead.
I mean, I don't think they're going for critical acclaim. They're going for money. And if they look back, they're going to try and basically mirror what the Transformers have done. Like, they were out of the public eye for 10, 15 years and then came back with a...
I hate the
I know,
Transformer
they're
films, but
terrible
Yeah,
films.
they
suppose
they're
But
so
they...
bad.
Most of them are
can't
commercial
argue with that cash.
successes.
Yeah.
Aren't they only commercial successes because they do really well in China, and China has a huge population?
Probably. That
I
does
think
make
that's
sense.
roughly what happens with them.
I mean, the same might happen with Power Rangers. I don't know. I don't care about this
There-
movies, to be honest.
No, let's stop talking about it. But actually, I went to school with someone when we were in primary school, and he loved Power Rangers so much that our teacher had to ban the word because he would just freak out
Call
anytime
it
they
out.
met.
Who is it?
No, I'm
Go
not
on.
going to do it. No. And so it used to be called the P word. So my first P word as a kid was Power Rangers.
Wow.
Fun fact.
Some of the Power Rangers actors have gone massively off the rails, haven't they? There's that one that's in prison or something.
what?
What?
Do you know? It was like a story last year. Like one of the ex-actors that was one of the Power Rangers. Something about killing people on a boat or something. It was
What?
really bleak.
I mean, you're gonna have to come up with some names, Sid.
You
Look
get
it
pretty
up.
high on that power, though, don't you? You know, you are a Power Ranger, and then they take that away from you. Well, you gotta beat something up, haven't you?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
beating monsters, not beating the baddies. Then there's got to be another channel. That channel is crime.
You're shaking your head like you can't find this news story.
I don't know, but I'm just wary of Joe making shit up, basically.
I guarantee this is a story.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on to... I mean, there's not much news this week, so I don't really
It's very dry week
Yeah,
for
I
news,
don't-
isn't it?
care that much about this. But
Way to sell it.
yeah. Bond 25 is going to have the return of Blofeld.
That's Christoph Waltz.
I'm
Return
gonna
of
yeah,
say
Blofeld.
Christoph Waltz. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally talked for about 5 minutes in a previous podcast how none of us like Bond. So I
Yeah.
mean-
No, I think that was off mic.
oh, was it
spoke
off
that-
mic?
yeah.
Was it?
None
of us like Bond.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a hot take, but it turns out we all think James Bond's stupid. I do like Roger Moore, those movies, and how stupid it is. And in one, his spider disguise is a clown costume.
Love
he
it.
literally goes full clown.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it turns out Joe is correct, but it's not one of the new actors. It's not one of, out of the film.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay,
Although
well,
he's
no, yeah.
wincing in pain as he has to say those words.
So a judge sentenced a one-time child actor to death for murdering an Arizona couple by tying them to an anchor and throwing them overboard from their yacht.
Jeez.
That is a lot more bleak than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I really regret bringing this up now. Okay.
Which Power Ranger was it? Which Power Ranger did it?
Which colour Power Ranger?
Yeah, which colour Power Ranger?
I do not
My
know.
money's on the White Ranger.
Wow.
Who used to be the Green Ranger? This has
What?
taken a sour turn.
Yeah. I
It
feel
doesn't
like-
say. I mean, you brought it up.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on. We're getting a Space Jam 2. Don Cheadle's going to be in it.
Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
I like Don Cheadle.
Cheedy Cheeds. But I don't know what he's going to...
Did you just call him John Jeedle?
May have done. I imagine he's going to be playing the Bill Murray role. That would be my guess.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause he's not a professional basketball player, is he?
Yeah.
No, I thought LeBron was meant to be the
What?
big name in Space Jam 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Playing
he'll be
like
the
the
basketball
Michael
player.
Jackson. Michael Jordan. Playing the Michael Jordan role, and then Don Cheadle will be playing like the Bill Murray, like the
Yeah.
sidekick, basically.
Who's going to play Bugs Bunny?
Don't know. Well, didn't Don Cheadle do the voice for Bugs Bunny at one point?
Did he?
I don't know. I
I
thought it was
might
actually a
have
really
just
stupid
made that
question.
up.
Wait, so Space Jam 2, is it going to be, well,
It's
the
happening.
same Looney Tunes? Like, how's that going to work?
I don't know.
No idea.
So I'm
I
not
think
against
it's, I think it's in
not against
very
it,
early
but
production at the moment.
I assuming they're just like kind of casting and roughly getting an idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw the. I forgot his name. There's one basketball player that they wanted to be in it, but he was like Stephen Curry. Is that a basketball?
Stephen Curry.
Stephen Curry. I was nearly like that was close. But yeah, no, he they asked him to be in it, and he was like, no.
Too busy shooting threes.
Probably is that a reference?
I know what that is, a 3-pointer.
Yeah, I know a 3-pointer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Space Jam 2 has been released in like summer 2021 apparently.
Yeah.
So a couple of years away.
Yeah.
That's all my news. Sorry about that.
Have you heard anything else about the Sonic the Hedgehog live action?
I heard that the
Have you seen the trailer?
direct, because there was uproar, wasn't there, about how he looked, and then they went back and
Looks
redesigned
ridiculous.
it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so the director came out a couple of days ago and said that, don't worry, fans, you're going to really like the redesigning of Sonic.
I don't believe it.
I
No.
don't believe it either. I mean, just stop ruining everything we
Yeah.
like as children.
Yeah.
There's no need.
Again, it comes back to like it was really good, so you don't need to remake it.
Yeah.
There will be like a really crappy Pokemon live action, like well, we
I
got
mean,
Detective
Detective
Pikachu,
Pikachu.
but like an Ash Ketchum story within a few years, I reckon.
Yeah.
Can see that happen.
Yeah.
It's so hard to translate kind of human cartoon characters into real life, isn't it? Because they will never match up to your expectation there, I guess, because cartoons don't look like people and they don't have the right kind of proportions and everything. So anytime you've ever seen like a live action remake of some cartoon or anime or something, I don't know of any cases of it actually working well.
No.
Casting wise, I just don't think you can do it because nobody looks like a cartoon enough.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's that whole thing actually as well of like what we're saying about the Lion King, like looking unsettling. And there's that, I think this is part of the human psyche. It's like if it's too close to real life, but slightly off, it's more disturbing than something that's really far
That's
from.
absolutely a thing.
Yeah. So it's that, and yeah, they gave him like really big calves, which like you would have if you could run that fast. But it's just,
We're not arguing with the biology behind this.
but yeah, it was just weird and upsetting, wasn't it? And they're probably going to shoehorn in some.
Jim Carrey's in it as well as
Robotnik.
Robotnik.
Let's see.
I actually quite like that.
That's good.
I'm a Jim
casting.
Carrey fan.
Yeah, me too.
And there's a little clip in the trailer where you see him kind of with the old school Robotnik look with the big kind of frazzled mustache and everything.
Oh, really?
At first, he's in kind of a different kind of very sleek kind of outfit, but then there must be something in the film that exposes him as the Robotnik that you kind of know.
Yeah.
Is it set in the real world?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Although
see.
there's some parallel between the Green Hill Zone in say the video games and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is called something like that in the real world, but I think it's set in
Oh, okay.
Earth.
That's quite cool.
Well, I think set it in the Sonic universe. Like, what's the point of bringing it to Earth? So you can have human beings in it. But it's like, why? Just make it an animation with good voice acting. What?
We love that.
Did any of you see the cartoon?
Yeah,
cartoon series, yeah.
it was all right, I thought.
I was trying to find the redesigned Sonic. I stumbled across something that's not quite.
So it's the horrible meme Sonic.
Yeah. I'll link that below.
Yeah.
That is gross.
Sonic, that's the name. That's the name.
Sonic Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Sherlock Holmes 3 has been announced.
Robert Downey Jr.'s got some time on his hands.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So Robert Downey Jr. has been confirmed with Jude Law both coming back. The only replacement is that Guy Ritchie's not going to be directing this one. He's passed the mantle on to Dexter Fletcher, who you might
That's
recognise.
not a real name.
He
Dexter Fletcher.
Yeah,
Fact check.
directed Rocketman.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
And he was the guy that came in when Bryan Singer had his little bitch fit at Bohemian Rhapsody.
I think it was more than that.
I don't know what happened.
He was like alleged to have molested.
Okay, we'll cut that out. Let's try that again. So take two.
Speechless.
So Guy Ritchie's been replaced by Dexter Fletcher,
whose name sounds like the thing in Star Wars in Attack of the Clones when he goes to that like diner. Do you remember this? It's really awful.
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. The the what were they called? The prequels, the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, I know it's a prequel, but I don't remember the scene you're on about.
Not a good film either.
But he also Dexter Fletcher also directed.
Wait, did that alien molest anyone?
Take 3, damn it, Arlo.
I'm trying to bring it back, buddy. Okay. Where should we start from again? Should I just start the whole news again?
Yeah. Well,
Right, we're getting Sherlock.
Let's try again tomorrow, guys.
Right, Sherlock Holmes number 3 is coming out. RDJ and Jude Law.
Do we have a title?
We don't have a title as of yet. No, I don't know who's writing it, but Guy Ritchie's been replaced by Dexter Fletcher, who directed Rocketman and Eddie the Eagle, and also filled in for Bryan Singer.
Filled something in.
So unprofessional. So unprofessional.
It's dangerous territory, this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's not mention Bohemian Rhapsody.
ever again.
What was... There wasn't anything about Bohemian Rhapsody, was there?
It's
Yeah.
what it leads to.
Well, no, that's
It's-
Dexter Fletcher
Yeah.
replaced
Here we go again.
Bryan Singer on Bohemian Rhapsody for a bit of the production of that.
Right.
For allegations that may or may not be true.
So Robert Downey Jr.
I mean-
is coming back, and apparently so is Jude Law.
But I mean, yeah. So I mean, you'd think that RDJ has a bit of faith in this project. He's not exactly looking for cash right now, is he? Do you know? Also, on that point, do you know how much money he made from Avengers Endgame?
Does he have a revenue share and how much the...
8%.
Oh my
Ooh,
god.
wow.
Ugh.
So his salary was something like 20 million for like as an actor in that film, and then
So he now has the wealth of a small country.
so then he got an extra 50
Jesus.
for that for the equity stake.
Didn't he get about 50 just for the stuff he did in
Spider-Man.
the original? Yeah, not the original Tom Holland Spider-Man, whatever that's called.
Did he?
I think the
Homecoming.
pay. That's it, Homecoming. Yeah, I think his paycheck was monstrous for that film, and he's in it like
Well, I didn't.
Yeah, he's barely
Yeah,
in it.
barely in it.
yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, so you'd think that he like at least likes the project and wants to come back for it. I mean,
I don't
They
know if
actually-
it speaks to how good the project itself is. I mean,
One
especially
would-
if Guy Ritchie's not in it. Well, I mean, Dexter Fletcher's not bad from what I've
Dexter
seen,
Fletcher has done like a Cockney film called something like.
which is an absolute must if you're directing
They've
Sherlock
got, they've
Holmes.
got a really solid template. They don't really have to worry about the formula. They've got it down from the first two films. If they
Yeah.
kind of walk in those footsteps, I think it'll be.
I mean,
good.
do you know they were commercial successes? They both made 500 million.
The second
Oh, no,
one,
they were really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the second one's bad, but also
Was it called Book of Shadows?
Book of
It
Shadows.
was
They
Game
did
Game of Shadows.
a Game of
Game of
Shadows.
Yeah.
They did. Either of you two might know this. I'm looking at you mostly, Arlo. What's the Sherlock Holmes book where he goes over the waterfall?
The Reichenbach Falls.
Oh, I should have
Looking
looked at
You
you.
should have.
Well, they did that at the end of 2. So is this third one just going to be like he reappears back from the dead and?
I'm really angry that you was looking at
Just
these two.
completely slighted him.
What? Like he's? I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
I feel like
it'll
that's
be
a-
like the transition from 1 to 2. It's especially another thing comes up. There might be some recurring characters, but they don't need to really refer back to it anymore, do they? Because at the end of the second film, he was back in the house, wasn't he? He was, in his little
Oh, was
camouflage
he? I,
costume.
can't, I
Was he?
can't really remember the second film, to be
Yeah,
honest.
so they thought that he died or whatever, and then the other guy, what's his name?
Watson?
Yeah. Wow. Sidekick syndrome there, isn't it? He was typing up some memoirs or something, and then Holmes was in the room in camouflage, and he put a little question mark.
He was
at the end. And
was he
question mark.
like disguised as a chair or something?
Yeah, it was either a chair or some drapes or something. I can't remember which one he used, but because he had those disguises where basically he kind of comedians
like
on the wall.
blended in.
I don't really like Sherlock Holmes.
They are using it a lot at the moment, aren't they? Like, there's a new.
I don't like Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock Holmes, even though it's written by, I think it's Russell T Davies.
They gave that a chance. Pretty good. It's just a completely different spin on
Season
what
1 and 2 were really
so
good.
modern, isn't it?
There's too much crossover in the TV series of Sherlock between that and Doctor Who, mostly because they have similar. I think it's the same writer. I can't remember. Stephen Moffat. Sorry,
similar characters, aren't
but it's
they?
just got this kind of like up itself storytelling style that I really find it tough to.
Well, that's Holmes, though, isn't it? That's Sherlock Holmes. Is that he's?
Well, that's what I don't like about it.
He's kind of this almost insufferable savant.
Yeah.
He's better than you.
Well, I mean,
and nobody likes that because he.
Do you think Doctor Strange is basically like I feel like
that's
he
why
drew
he was.
a lot from.
That's why he was the same thing. Yeah.
And, but I mean, that's kind of typecast, isn't it? That he's just know-it-all kind of.
Yeah.
Well, he's proven himself basically in that role.
Mm.
So it might not necessarily be slating him saying he can't do anything else, but you've got very kind of strong evidence there that he can do that character justice. Really.
Yeah. Have you got any news today?
It's been a bit of a slow week for movie news, really. I did see something about there's an HBO series called Euphoria, which has hired a transgender actor named Hunter Schafer, or Schaffer, depending on how you prefer to pronounce that. But it also has Zendaya from Spider-Man Far From Home.
Excellent.
Which I think it's a pretty relevant topic these days. I know, since the Danish Girl with Eddie Redmayne, there's been a lot of talk about actual trans actors not getting enough work in the industry to play trans roles. So
would this be a trans role too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's good that there is that representation coming into the industry now, where trans actors can actually get jobs portraying trans characters, or not always characters, but potentially like biopic roles.
Yeah, that's good.
Because wasn't there a load of uproar recently about Scarlett Johansson playing a trans character?
Yeah.
Yes, there was. I cannot remember what the film was though.
I will have a little look. But
she pulled out of the project, didn't she?
She did, yeah, because there was a lot of backlash in the
You've got to be
media.
So careful.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days of Laurence Olivier in Othello.
What?
Yeah, blackface, didn't he?
Oh,
she was going to play a transgender man. She was going to be a Pittsburgh crime boss, Dante Tex Gill. I do remember reading about this. But she was criticised because people came out saying it should have gone to a transgender actor rather than her. So she dropped out of the project.
I don't know how I feel about this one. Like, if there's a, you pick the best person for the job. So if there is somebody who will fit that character very well, and I don't know that I agree that it matters whether they're transgender or not.
I think more the point is that there should be some, at least like a little bit of transgender representation in.
Also, you're talking kind
film.
of along the lines of like affirmative action to kind of push representation more.
Yeah, I think it's just awareness. It's not like transgender actors have to play every single main role in every single film portraying something about transgender people, but it's just like they are so underrepresented in the movie industry at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree. It's an injustice if there were, say, transgender candidates for the role, and then it went to Scarlett Johansson for no good reason.
Yeah.
Then of course, but
if she was just a better actress, then
yeah, I mean,
it's like what we were talking about last week with the George Romero's.
The original guy cast for Night of the Living Dead. So the lead actor in the late 60s, he gave it to a black guy, an African American. And based on, because he was better, originally it was written for a white male, and this guy gave a better performance, so he's like, actually, I'm just going to switch it, which for then was really progressive. And and there was no internet to get in an uproar about it. So, whatever.
And so Trace Lysette came out and spoke about Scarlett Johansson dropping this role, and her point as a trans, I believe as a trans actress, was I wouldn't be upset if I was getting in the same rooms as Jennifer Lawrence and Scarlett Johansson for cis roles, but we know that's not the case.
Right.
Now, I'm going to just ask, like, I guess, very, just like matter-of-fact questions. Like, appearance-wise, does that separate her from these other actors?
As in the portrayal of this Pittsburgh crime boss.
So if you're going to have a transgender actor play a cis role, would there be obvious kind of signs that they were transgender that would not fit with the character that they were playing?
Well, I mean, it'd be a case-by-case basis, I assume. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It raises, like, it's obviously
so many questions, and it's a minefield, but...
Yeah, it very much is.
But you have to be able to ask these questions, don't you, I suppose, just to say, right, like, why are these roles going to different people? And, nobody wants there to be any prejudice or discrimination because of,
And this is why Trace Lysette spoke out about it as well. So she's in a TV series called Transparent. She's the first transgender woman and one of the first trans people to appear as a non-transgender person on primetime television in a speaking role. So obviously it's pretty close to her heart, which is why she came out and commented on it. But
I think the more questions people ask, like the more awareness about
it needs to be very transparent.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
God. I wasn't going to pick up.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't know what it's like at all because we're four dudes. It's
just guys being dudes.
So yeah, like more awareness, the better, I say. And I think just a quick non-spoiler review. Yeah. We can rate it, and then we'll go into like the main thing, which will be the future of the MCU.
Yeah. Sounds
we good with that?
Yeah. So, do you want me to give a brief?
Please.
Okay. So, at the opening of the film, Spider-Man is now, or Peter Parker is 16 years old. Obviously now an Avenger, but I think that happened in the first Avengers film. So that's not a spoiler, hopefully. But yeah, he's kind of coming to terms with being one of the main superheroes in the world now, and like he has this public recognition. No one knows who the person behind the mask is, but they all associate Spider-Man with being like one of the saviors of Earth. And he's divided between being this normal teenager and kind of like chasing after MJ and wanting to like, divulge his feelings for her, and balancing basically the responsibility that comes with his superpowers and trying to keep Nick Fury off his tail for wanting him to help in all the effed up stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically about how it's kind of a coming of age story, I thought. How he's coming to terms with, his responsibility as a hero and how he has to, like whether he has to do that or whether it's like his choice.
Yeah.
And a lot's been left on his shoulders since some of the happenings in the Marvel Universe, and you get that impression from the very start of the film.
Yeah, so Iron Man is no more.
Are you just going to say it? Great. I mean, I avoided it in the whole synopsis.
Well, it's in the trailers, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Which I think that's fair for us. Yeah. And yeah, it seems like there's no real heroes around. So he's basically...
they kind of sweep that under the carpet, don't they?
Yeah.
Like Thor, Off-World.
Yeah.
Who else did they mention? They don't even mention...
Marvel.
Yeah, just like MIA. So,
Yeah.
What?
But yeah, what did you guys think?
We're doing a rating out of 6?
We can get to a rating.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I thought there was some pacing issues, especially in the first act. I thought jumping around from location to location kind of took me out of the movie a couple of times. The comedy was really good. The fight scenes were amazing. And yeah, I don't know. I'm quite invested in this character now. I didn't think I would get that invested when he was first introduced in, what was it, Civil War?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, they've done a good job with it, and especially like coming straight off of Endgame, how like big that was to go back to doing just a centralized one superhero like film and doing it well, and it's still the stakes still feel real is really impressive from Marvel, I think.
And kind of like on a meta level, it's also quite appropriate that it's a little bit jarring that you go from, you know, this huge climax to back to kind of normal business. Well, not normal, you know, still superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody in the universe did. That's what they're going through, isn't it? Suddenly everybody just reappears.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of,
Well,
how do we live now?
They did address that quite well at the beginning of the film, actually.
Yeah.
Like so we got a name for it after all this time.
I didn't like the name for it.
The Blip. I quite like it. I quite like it. And you did, like, because obviously after Endgame there was a lot of people going, oh, how funny would it be if like they come back in all these like crazy situations, and they did actually play on that a little bit with the basketball hitting that guy right in the face.
I'm a bit confused as to how that worked. So people were coming back, but they were 5 years older.
No. So people coming back exactly how they left, but everyone else had got 5 years older because the world kept going.
But there was a character in this film who came back from the blip, and he was 5 years older.
No, he didn't get snapped.
Oh, and everyone else did.
Yeah.
Right, got you.
Yeah.
Right, that makes more sense. I was also.
Did you think that as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
feel
got
like
it.
the way that it was
Okay.
phrased, or maybe just the way I took it.
So it did quite well with that, I think.
Yeah, I really like the comedy elements for it, and the visuals are incredible.
Yeah.
They were the two stand-up bits for me. I found it kind of, the plot's kind of thin, and I said this afterwards, I think the antagonist's reasons are a bit thin also. I didn't really like the motivations for the actual main villain in it. You know, there is a good twist to it, but then when you find out the motivation,
There was a problem with the build-up, I think, and I felt it at the very beginning when they first introduced the problem number one. I felt like it just kind of came out of nowhere, but not in a very kind of appropriate or inventive way. And then when you get kind of the antagonist kind of in full, it's a good kind of exposition, but it's very short. And it's kind of just that's it.
And it is full exposition. It's just describing what.
It just fills you in.
Yeah,
it feels a little bit artificial. It's like, well, actually, here we go, guys.
And I mean, that's probably why I thought it had pacing issues in the first act, is because what you consider to be the antagonist, then it moves on from that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't. It's really difficult to do without spoiling.
Yeah, it is really difficult, but I think that's the bit that let it down for me the most.
And I guess that it's kind of a catch-22 here, because if they give you much more build-up, that will give away some of the stuff that comes later on.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because the nature of the antagonist, they can't tell you kind of the background at the beginning.
Yeah.
So they just need to throw it at you.
I did think it was the whole movie in general, but also the antagonist, it's very comic accurate. I think they nailed it, I would say.
Yeah.
This time I'm looking at you, Joe.
Well, I'm thinking the cartoon series is accurate.
Yeah,
That's my
actually,
guess.
kind of me too more.
I don't know much about the comics and
Okay.
and Mysterio. Well, we can get to that in the non-spoiler.
Yeah.
Given
Oh,
that
the
it's
spoiler.
been such a success at the box office, I think something like $800 million in its opening week, I want to say, or maybe to date. I don't know.
That seems unlikely.
It's
Really?
it's doing really well.
Fact check.
Do you think that's justified?
It's tricky. I don't know.
I don't
it's
mean
the
by
franchise,
justified,
isn't it?
but I
It's-
mean, you're going to get your hardcore fans that go and see every single installment of every Marvel film. So I mean, it's always going to make money.
It shouldn't make the most out of
Yeah.
all of them, I don't think. But
So yeah, yesterday, Spider-Man: Far From Home is about to swing past the $700 million worldwide
Pretty
mark.
impressive.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
where does that rank?
In terms of Marvel films,
Yeah.
Upper?
third probably, I imagine.
Wow.
In the time period.
That's hefty.
Well, you get some, I guess, kind of inflation as they gather more.
Oh
and
yeah,
more
I mean,
momentum.
and the thing is, after Endgame and stuff, they're going to continue to make more money. Like I imagine, we'll come on to it, but other sequels such as like Black Panther 2 is going to absolutely kill it at the box office. I don't know.
Yeah, so people seem to think it has a shot of breaking the $400 million mark, based on its opening figures as a film.
Well, you just said it made 700.
Are we talking worldwide versus?
Yeah, domestic. Sorry, domestic.
Oh,
figure.
right. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Wait, you're talking USA then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll, presuming it does so, it'll pass the unadjusted gross of Spider-Man 2, 2004,
Sam Raimi's.
to become the biggest of the 3 Spider-Man 2 movies since 2004.
I think that's appropriate.
The biggest of the Spider-Man 2 movie. That's a really confusing sentence.
I don't think there's much competition there.
No, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 is great.
Meh.
The Amazing
Not bad.
Spider-Man 2 was trash.
Yeah.
Then,
I like Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi one,
yeah,
but
Doc Ock.
most of the Sam Raimis, I'm like your reactions, kind of yeah. There's really good parts to them, but I feel like they don't hold up. But I haven't watched them in a
Emo
while.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, so bad. The cast is really good in this.
Yeah, it is.
It's all right. Did you think so?
Yeah, I thought.
I mean,
He's really-
I know you don't like him, but Tom Holland is Spider-Man.
He was fine.
he was-
I don't really know what Zendaya brought to anything. Like, I don't know whether the character is just...
I think there was some kind of uninspired acting.
Yeah.
In this, even compared to the last one, the same people, but I think they weren't as good in this one.
Really?
Yeah.
She was really flat. I don't know if that's just... MJ's character is meant to be this, like, dark, like, kind of sadistic
Well, this version
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
But she spends half the movie kind of shuffling around and just kind of grunting to herself.
I
and
think there was some indecision about their characters and what they're meant to be trying to portray.
Yeah.
The first one was very kind of clear, and they were kind of they're maybe one-dimensional, but kind of it worked. And now they're trying to give them a little bit of depth, but they're kind of not quite there. Not quite enough depth. It just kind of dilutes their original kind of character, where they had quite a niche.
Did you think their love story was believable? I really didn't find it believable at all.
It was okay.
It was all right. I think they did the awkwardness of it really well.
They kind of insisted on the awkwardness too much, though.
But I think
They played on it too heavily. I think just throughout, they're meant to be a bunch of kind of goofy teenagers, with all these kind of different high school roles, but it felt maybe a little bit too much like older people playing those roles.
Yeah.
They didn't seem quite childish enough, maybe.
I do think they get right though how the characters are with like their phones and modern technology. I feel like they get that very right.
And actually, I really like the whole thing. We can't really go into. I don't want to talk about the technology stuff just yet. When we get to the spoiler bit,
Yeah.
I've got quite some thoughts about the technology and how this is a really appropriate
Yeah.
time for this kind of villain.
Now you've said that, I can see what you guys mean about her. I think them not making the right character decisions for her. Like thinking back to the first one, actually she's way more like fiery and decisive than in this one. She's kind of, I guess you're right, she's like shuffled to the back a bit.
I feel like, much like many Marvel films, Jon Favreau held it together. I thought he was really good.
John Favreau is,
if you didn't have him in this installment, you wouldn't have the whole...
Sorry, I don't know which character that is. Who's that?
Happy, the security guy.
Right, yeah.
You wouldn't have the whole father-son
I agree,
element of
He
Iron Man, Spider-Man. You
came
wouldn't
into his own in this film, I think, compared to the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, he tied it together. His performance was pretty good. I don't think he's like the best actor or anything, but
He gives it some nice stability.
Yeah.
he's like a franchise constant that kind of steers the ship a little bit, steadies the ship, I should say.
Nice reference there. Yeah. Any more on it? Should we do ratings?
Yeah.
We do out of 6 on this podcast, by the way,
Oh, really?
because we're the Sync Slate 6.
Do we have to adjust it because there's 4 of us at the table?
Well, no, I was just going to say,
if we go into it too much, you're going to have to explain why it's Sing Slate 6, and I don't want to make you guys do that.
because there are 6 of us, obviously.
For the listeners out there are 2 other mute.
We're getting there.
They chime in quite a lot. They just don't have mics.
This isn't even our final form.
So if you hit that like, subscribe, and follow button, then we can get them some mics.
Yes.
That'd would
Thank you, Larry.
Good
There we
plug.
go, yeah.
Good plug.
Nice.
There we go. Right. So rating out of 6.
Out of 6, what would you give this one?
Can you go decimals? Can I go 4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Decimals are encouraged.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're rating out of 6, you kind of have to.
4.5.
Yeah. I'm almost a 4, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, I was gonna probably go around like a 3.9.
Joe? Or do you
Wait,
want me
can
to...
we do 2 decimal points? Not
why
if anyone
not?
wants
No,
to.
we're not getting into
No.
2 decimal points. Go on.
3.33.
I thought you were going to give it pi for a second there.
To 5 decimal places. No. Yeah, I'd say 3.3.
No, that's way too low. 4.9.
Oh, that's way too high.
Interesting.
Too high.
No, it's a solid film.
No, there's a lot I don't like about it, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
Yeah.
And that's excluding Tom Holland.
Okay, cool. Non-spoilers from here out for everything and all things Marvel.
Like, non-spoilers?
No, you said non-spoilers.
Did I? Sorry. Spoilers from now for all things Marvel related.
To date and potentially for the future.
Yes, because we might get things right, we might not.
Yeah, we might get things right. Do you want to talk about the film in spoilery terms now, and then we can move on to what the future holds?
So, because they said, so basically, Mysterio, the whole thing about there being a multiverse is not true.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes it like...
Well, from Mysterio's point of view, so he's not a guy that would necessarily know about that, really. You know,
Yeah.
he's more kind of, you know,
I
in
did
his
forget
world. He's a technology specialist. He's not like a physicist or something. So he's, you know, I don't think his kind of word on it will kind of exclude the possibility of there being a multiverse within their universe.
That's a good point, yeah.
That really didn't pay off, did it? I just realised that they did this whole explanation of there being a multiverse and parallel worlds, and they were like, oh, Spider-Man's like never apologised for being the smartest guy in the room because he was really excited about it.
Yeah.
But it didn't
Well,
go
no,
anywhere.
Yeah,
there it is, because Spider-Man wasn't the smartest guy in the room in that situation, was it? It was
yeah.
Mysterio was the one playing them all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, it does seem... I get it.
It's almost like a bluff, right?
Yeah, it's strange.
well, it's all a bluff. It's
Yeah.
Mysterio. He's
Yeah.
about illusion.
No,
so
but I
the
mean,
whole
'cause-
thing is...
Because Marvel teased the multiverse. They're obviously going to explore the idea of there being one at some stage. So they explained it
Yeah,
in depth.
I feel like it's
but-
already... I think it's assumed.
Do you
kind
reckon
of
as
already.
well that they timed this with the Fox acquisition to get everyone speculating this is how they're going to bring in the X-Men?
I think they could play on that and make it really good, but I don't think they did that on purpose.
Because that's what everyone was saying. Everyone was like, oh my god, Mysterio's coming in. They're bringing in the multiverse. They've just acquired Fox. This means we're getting X-Men. This means we're getting Fantastic Four, and that's how we're going to get them. We're going to get them through the multiverse. But then you go to the film, and it's like, yeah, not really.
Yeah, I think fair play. I think that's actually really good. Like you said, Larry, that they've used the character of Mysterio to call that bluff. Which, because they could have so easily got those new characters in that way, but instead they decided to take the route, actually will serve the film over the whole universe, which I feel like is a rarity with Marvel.
It's a risk, definitely.
Yeah.
They could have had a lot of people really pissed off, coming out being like, oh, I thought I was going to get all these answers, and I haven't.
Yeah, it's really kind of zoomed in. It's reduced the scope of what they deal with in the film.
Which is kind of what you need to do, and we'll come on to this in a bit, but after having such a massive event of Endgame, you need to make these films more
It's sensible
localized.
pacing on the kind of a longer term, isn't
definitely.
it? They
Because you
can't
can't
just do Endgame after
you
Endgame.
can't keep building more and more and more and more. So no, it's a really good decision.
What did you make, Arlo? Because I remember you said you haven't seen the Spider-Man film before this.
Yeah,
as
Homecoming.
As a standalone,
It was like the archetypal second film of a franchise.
Okay.
For me, it just felt...
Right.
It was like... It's almost like everyone talks about a difficult second album.
Yeah.
It had that, all the hallmarks of that. It was... Like Joe said, there were pacing issues at the start. The kind of antagonist's payoff was somewhat well, I didn't buy into it, and I know
Yeah,
you didn't really
yeah.
either. And it's a bit tired, and they've done it before in the Iron Man franchise. Like
Yeah.
an ex or like some employee or guy who comes to Tony Stark with an idea that he shuns or makes a
Yeah.
mockery of.
But I
Like, how
still
many more
think
of
that-
these guys are there in the woodwork?
Well,
Like,
there are going to be lots because it was Tony Stark. You know,
Well,
I think
yeah,
in
I
this
mean,
case,
they-
it's
think
lazy.
that's
It's a lazy plot.
It would be lazy, I think, in any other case, but in Tony Stark's case, it makes perfect sense that he's pissed
Yeah,
off
but I mean, they
because
did
he
it
is that
Iron Man
character.
3. They
Yeah,
did
the
it.
Mandarin.
Yeah, and then they also did it in the
Iron Man.
first Spider-Man because I mean it's
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton and
But
it's
don't you think
Tony Stark's
that
company that comes in and takes
it's
his job? Or-
Fitting that they are.
No, it's not Michael Keaton in the first one. It's Jeff Bridges.
No,
No,
in
it's
the
Michael
first
First Spider-Man.
First Spider-Man.
he means.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but don't you think, especially in this film, that it's fitting again because Tony Stark is gone, right? So
Yeah.
I think it would be weird if they didn't work in that it's to do with him because it's the aftermath of Tony Stark going. And
Yeah.
it's showing you that there is
Yeah.
still mess to clear up, that he's still caused that. Like, so obviously you don't want them to use that in every single film,
Yeah.
but I think maybe 3, in total. I think that's acceptable
Yeah.
because it's Tony Stark. For other characters, then you wouldn't have 3 films where Captain America has pissed off somebody and they're coming back to get him.
Yeah.
Or something. That wouldn't make sense. But for Tony Stark, his character, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I see a point. That's a really good point. And because they always, I guess, draw in parallels between Spider-Man and Iron Man, and that's like the arc, and even actually the first mid-credit scene. That is almost like a parallel of Iron Man 1. At the-
With Pepper.
no, at the end.
Oh,
so-
when he's like, I am Iron Man.
Yeah, so he reveals himself. Yet in this, at the end, Spider-Man gets revealed.
Right, yeah.
Not out of his own choice, which is that's going to be an interesting setup. Like I don't know how that's going to pan out. That everyone now knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man because in this
Well, it means that he can't lay low now, right? So maybe that gives him the reason because if we took Spider-Man and kind of made him grander and made him more like one of the the kind of the big time Avengers, people might be asking questions about why did he decide that, because he was always so torn about being just a normal kid now.
Yeah.
So they've taken that decision away from him. So now they don't have to kind of give another reason for him now taking part in some of the bigger kind of issues because he's been thrown into it by, say, Mysterio.
What they'll do though is they'll really play on like how that affects his relationship with MJ in the next film. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Like,
but they undid some of the work drawing parallels between Spider-Man and Iron Man, or Tony Stark and Peter Parker, by being him kind of stepping into his boots role, and being, but because no one knew who he was, it's not quite the same. Like when Iron Man at the end of Iron Man 1 is going to give this speech to give all these excuses like training, exercise, blah blah blah, he throws away the cards, doesn't he? And he just goes, "I am Iron Man," and he owns it. Like, and it's his decision to out himself.
Yeah.
Like he chooses that role. Whereas with Peter Parker, he's now in a world where he had that choice taken away from him. He's very much...
And that'll make it more refreshing then, because you're going to see, if they both have, say, similar kind of technology behind them and everything, if Spider-Man decided to out himself, then you're just going to have basically him growing up to be Iron Man here. And the point is that they're different characters, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of parallels there where, they've got this power, they're going to be well known, but one of them chose to be and one of them didn't choose to be.
Yeah.
One of them's obviously much younger as well, so I think they've got a lot more material there to explore.
And that was like a lot of Peter Parker's arc was, choice and decision and I guess...
Or responsibility.
Yeah, responsibility.
Always.
Great power, great responsibility.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard it.
Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
They didn't really say it though, did they?
No.
Well, I mean, it was hinted at
Yeah.
more than a couple of times.
Yeah, what... I'm trying to think.
what do you think of the comedy in this one?
Good. It was one of the best bits.
The bit with the drone coming to kill one of his classmates was really well done.
That was quite fun, yeah.
The Dutch guys in prison.
The Dutch
that made
guys
me
were the
laugh.
funniest bit,
Yeah.
I think. And he walks out of the cell and the prison guard's just there with the Spider-Man helmet on. It was quite good.
I liked the bits of comedy that weren't to do with the kind of classmates.
Yeah.
I think, like I said earlier, I feel like their performances were a bit stunted. They felt a little bit like adults playing children roles.
Yeah.
So all the comedy was really good that wasn't centered around them necessarily.
Yeah.
I really liked the opening where it was a tribute to the Avengers that had fallen.
Oh, that.
But it was like a really poorly put together slideshow by a couple of teenagers with.
Yeah, one was really pixelated as well, and I was like, "Oh, nice touch."
Yeah.
That is like.
Oh, it was Vision.
Yeah, Vision was really pixelated.
And "I Will Always Love You" was playing in the background.
Yeah, I was like, Marvel surely aren't going down this route. They're not being that bloody corny, are they? And then, they. Yeah,
Did you notice at the end there was just a still image of some candles and it said Getty Images like on the.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
But one thing I also wanted to talk about was the opening of a lot of these Marvel films now. You know, the kind of Columbus Pictures, almost Statue of Liberty-esque. It's like a woman holding a torch.
Yeah.
They seem to blend the opening of every film now into... So that comes up, and then the opening of the film was a car driving past a statue that looked similar to...
Okay.
Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
I noticed that at the start.
They're doing that more and more. I don't know what the gimmick behind that is.
I think that's the Sony thing.
Yeah.
Or however that's distributed. One thing a friend said this to me actually while we're talking about Marvel and distribution. He said what really takes him out of getting into Marvel movies is that you kind of there's a part of like understanding all the characters, but there's also a part of it that you know about Marvel's business. You know, the fact that we're talking about characters coming in through a buyout.
Yeah.
It's just quite bizarre, and he finds it very strange that you sort of have to know about like business acquisition and like the state of Marvel as a business also affects like your
never
film
considered
viewing.
that.
No, I didn't until he said to me, I was like, do you know what? That's a really good point, because so this movie at the end of Endgame, it's like, or you know, end of Infinity War, Spider-Man gets dusted or blipped, which I think is a really bad writing choice. But so yeah, he gets dusted, but then we know Spider-Man Far From Home is coming, so it's like, well, he's going to be back.
Well, you don't know. I mean, they just refer to it as the blip in this film.
Yeah.
You don't know that that's the kind of general name for it or the adopted name for the event. And like, no one says like he got blipped.
The snap.
The snap.
Yeah, but
snapping
you got to
egg,
think
yeah.
who's made up this blip name. It's the
True.
general populace that's made this name.
Yeah.
They don't know about the snap.
Yeah, exactly,
So they're going to call
yeah.
it blip because it's something kind of
Yeah.
mysterious that just happened. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, what would
I
you
wish
call it,
they.
Andrew?
I
I
really
would
wish
put-
they went harder into the like how it affected society and stuff in this. Like, if this is the end of Phase 3, like it'd be really nice to like round off that whole like Thanos snap
Yeah.
with like.
I don't think it's the last we'll hear about it, to be
No,
honest.
I think
No.
that kind of
I think they're just gonna be like, okay, it's all fine. I mean, lots of families broke up and stuff because people moved on in 5 years.
Well, surely one of the
but-
heroes that felt it most badly was Black Panther.
yeah. Well,
because-
I think they'll
Why?
probably use it for
because
a,
so many of them faded away. So he did.
He did, yeah.
Like half his army did, essentially.
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna do that.
I think they'll use like the stuff you're talking about, Joe. They'll probably use that for a character that's not Spider-Man, and like you say, it'll probably be Black Panther
I
to
think-
touch on like society and stuff like that.
I think by the time we get Black Panther 2, people are going to be fed up of hearing about the Thanos snap, and I think they're just going to move on.
I don't know if that would be the case. I think it's a defining moment in the MCU, so you can't ever really get away from it.
Yeah, potentially.
It's inevitable.
Oh,
I'm inevitable. That's nice. Good.
um,
Good job, buddy.
what? Oh, and I tell you an interesting thing for the future: the Skrulls.
Yeah.
The Skrulls the whole time were Nick Fury and Mariah Hill in this movie.
Yeah, in this movie.
Yeah.
Let's clarify that.
This only struck me when we left the cinema, but did you realise that, you know, all the wordplay with Nick Fury's character and Spider-Man and Happy was very much, you don't ghost Nick Fury. No one ghosts Nick Fury. Like, I'll call you and you pick up. Did you get the impression that because it was a Skrull doing the job of Nick Fury, people weren't giving him the same kind of, like, he wasn't as imperious as Nick Fury. He was
Yeah.
just playing a role. So people were
And
giving
what
him
does-
less time a
What
day.
does Happy say to Nick Fury to like warn him about the drone attack as well? Something about surfboards.
Appearances are deceiving.
Yeah, appearances are deceiving. Bit of foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
I do think it's a really nice touch though, and how well they wrote Mysterio that he confused shapeshifters, which they play as a joke in that end
Yeah.
credit scene. But yeah, that's like testament to
I mean,
his
Jake Gyllenhaal
character.
was pretty good in this film.
Yeah,
I thought.
he was.
He's a good actor.
The only thing that was really disappointing. The main scene that annoyed me was him standing on the bar and giving the speech, because it was just like, you want some exposition? Have all of it.
It was like an evil monologue.
Yeah, it's like, come on, we're like, it wasn't.
But how else would they have done it? Maybe because
he even did flashbacks.
He had
as well.
such a big team with him, because he's like, it's not just him, it's the whole operation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Did they need that though? Could they have not just made it him? Like, he's supposed to be a super genius.
But there was some kind of plot point they wanted to establish with the bald guy who's originally built the replica Iron Man suit for Jeff Bridges' character in the first one. They're doing something with that, clearly, maybe for the third Spider-Man.
He's still around. He's the one he downloaded some data at the end.
He's the one that sent the unveiling of Spider-Man out. Well, we assume, anyway.
Yeah. I think you can also assume he's got more.
Yeah, that's what I figured, that he has more of Edith, as she was called.
What did Edith stand for again? I can't remember.
Even dead, I'm the hero.
I'm the hero. Yeah.
That is great.
Still an arrogant son of a bitch.
The bit when Back in Black came on, and then he was like, "I love Led Zeppelin."
That bit was great, though. And it's like, again, Jon Favreau there.
It was really nice to see, like the way Jon Favreau looked at Peter Parker when, like, he was like, right, let's get some music, like let's fiddle with this tech, essentially. So he is being the new Iron Man. He's doing it his own way. So that was a really nice scene, I thought.
Yeah. So do you think the MCU now is going to be, it's like flipped on its head, but Peter Parker will be, like the Iron Man role. He's going to be head Avenger.
No,
he's too young.
I think they're going to change it completely.
I think his powers are too underwhelming as well. So when Mysterio was fighting these elementals, which seemed really, really powerful.
Well, he didn't have his nanosuit this whole time, did he?
He didn't, but...
And I was kind of wondering why at the end he's back to kind of the more flexible suit rather than the shiny nanosuit.
Again, maybe it's that just confining the story back down to...
But even say after the fight and everything, so you could argue that it was on another continent the whole time, so he didn't have access to it because he didn't bring it to Venice in the first place. But I was thinking kind of right at the very end
when he designed his own one,
when he's just swinging around, and then designing his own one. Yeah, that doesn't look like the really good suit, and kind of wondering why, why wouldn't he wear that? I mean, it might be kind of a powering kind of thing, like overpowering him. But he could be more or less, Tony Stark level, couldn't he, with that suit? That's because it's
like in Endgame when he's got the insta kill.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm kind of wondering why
the claws that come out or whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, his powers on their own are kind of underwhelming compared to some of the other guys, but with the nanosuit, he can be Iron Man plus Spider-Man.
Yeah. What was I didn't understand the whole plot point that his Spidey senses had kind of deserted him. Why had that happened?
I think it's because it's kind of like a coming of age thing, because he's so like hormonal and kind of thrown off and thinking about other things and worried about MJ and stuff like that. I think it's just
they're out of whack.
He's just like he's going through like a period of growth or something like.
It was a really cool like visual though when he was like Mysterio was trying to perform the illusions on him, and he was just like going through using his Spidey sense. So what do they call it?
The Peter Tingle.
Peter Tingle, is it?
Yeah, no, it's a Spidey sense, isn't it? Like, and just like taking out the drones. It's really good.
That bit was cool.
Yeah, and the time Mysterio gets him.
Yeah.
The visuals in that are so good. That's so trippy. So,
There was like Doctor Strange, but kind of like leveled up again.
Yeah.
There's that terrifying bit though where this is, you're gonna like this, Andrew. You ready for this?
Please.
Right? Almost this Dickensian scene where he gets dragged in front of Tony Stark's grave, and Mysterio saying something along the lines of, "He would be ashamed of you."
No, he said, if you were better, he might still be here.
Sorry, that's it. Yeah, you're quite right. But it's almost like that Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come that like points at Scrooge's grave.
Well, did you not notice as well there were spiders crawling out of the eye sockets of the Iron Man helmet?
Were there? Yeah, so that's the bit that I was like, that's quite a potent thing, where it was this Iron Man suit that crawled out of the grave and towards him, which was all kind of decrepit and
it's actually almost as if like I feel like they didn't really need to be on this school trip. I think if you'd taken away, because you said you found like the moving of places quite jarring.
Yeah.
And I think actually if you'd kept it, like wouldn't necessarily have to keep it in New York, but if you just focused it more on, plots like that, it would probably be a better film.
Maybe
I think
that helps to kind of convey maybe Peter Parker's frustration that he wants to just do this one thing rather than kind of all the other moving around. So like it's jarring for us to watch, but it's also meant to be jarring for him.
Yeah,
because he's trying to do something, but he kept on getting dragged into this other stuff.
Why did it have to be called Far From Home? Just because they were going on this European road trip? I don't. Or is it?
Yeah,
maybe?
I don't think it's the best title for it. I like the idea. It's to do with him being kind of out of his comfort zone. He's being kind of stretched, and it's not nice for him to be in this situation, but.
Do we think Marvel has like certain commitments internationally? Because there was a lot of stuff to do with the Czech film board, the Italian film board,
Australian film board as well.
Yeah.
What was that about?
I'm not sure.
Well,
do they have international commitments where they have to film in certain countries?
Well, I mean, it instantly makes that place like. I mean, I know they like for Black Panther, for example, they filmed a lot of it in Korea, and then they had the world premiere of Black Panther in Korea, and it was huge over there.
So maybe it's just building
It's
a
just building
larger
a
fan base.
big, like what you do in Marvel situation, you go, oh, where are we selling the least? Okay, let's film a bit of next film in that country. Send the premieres there.
And that's what I was just saying. Sorry to interrupt,
go.
That's what I was just saying about like their business is creeping into their films and the other way round too, which is I find kind of tiring.
Yeah. Anything else we said about the film, or
no? I think
when I finished my mouthful of pizza.
Just that I didn't
the
like.
technology bit.
I didn't really like Mysterio. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal his acting was pretty on point and pretty good, but I was disappointed by the whole twist that it's this spurned ex-employee of Tony Stark, and it's all that the fight sequences up until that point had been illusion. It's kind of it just didn't do it for me. I found one Spider-Man's powers underwhelming throughout the film, and two, there wasn't a palpable villain because the villain didn't have any powers. So it's very much.
But hang on, right? You don't need powers to be the villain, though. I think that's the point. Is that technology, and I think this is really relevant to now because it's obviously in the MCU, but also I think now this is something that is we're going to have to start dealing with in terms of, say, artificial intelligence. Once you get to the point where you can make illusions and you can make things that are photorealistic in real time, then you have it's like kind of opening up Pandora's box. You have this whole other world of issues that you need to deal with now. For example, this is how he managed to unveil Spider-Man in the end. Because you just fool the media. It's no longer a case of seeing is believing, because what you see now could be computer generated.
Yeah.
And that's something that nowadays you're going to have to think about more and more and more, and it's going to change basically the way everything works. So I think it's really relevant to now, right? And I think it's a really good modern villain where he doesn't need a superpower. He just uses technology, media, and illusion and people's gullibility.
Yeah.
So I think it's super relevant. I really like that kind of that it is leaning that way.
Yeah, I'd agree. I really like that aspect of it. My issue was the well, I mean, we've already covered it, so I won't repeat myself. But yeah, it is really interesting. I think Marvel actually do the better villains are the ones that aren't superpowered. I guess minus Thanos, but guy from Civil War is just a dude, yet he breaks up the whole Avengers, and it's much more compelling when you have.
But you need a balance, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Thanos.
Nicely done. So what's the next Marvel film we're getting? Do we know?
No, we don't.
Okay.
There's speculation. So basically, there's 8 films that have been confirmed. Not confirmed, but release dates that have been confirmed for the next phase. Because obviously we're Spider-Man Far From Home. That's the end of phase 3, and we're moving on to phase 4. So basically, there's 2 films coming out 2020, and then 3 films coming out 2021, 2022, respectively. And obviously, with the way like films that are in production and stuff, we can make some guesses as to what's going to fill each slot. So next year, 2020, we're looking like the first one is going to be the Black Widow prequel.
Okay.
Have you heard much about that? Like, there's not much going around at the moment, but it looks like it's going to be set in the early noughties, kind of before her introduction in Iron Man 2, I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So it's kind of weird that they would choose to do that. I think to end Phase 3 and then start Phase 4 with a prequel of an already dead character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Ray Winston had recently been cast in that as well.
Ray Winston.
Ray Winston, yeah.
Oh God.
I'm not really sure what character he'll be playing, but
I reckon a mob boss.
Do you reckon he can do a Russian accent?
the.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think Ray Winston's got one accent, and that's his accent.
I agree.
Made in play.
I really hope if that's in the early 2000s, they get flame shirts, frosted tips, chain necklace.
What, everyone's
baggy
going around
jeans.
looking like Guy Fieri.
Spot on.
You got Ray Winston going around saying, "Welcome to Flavortown."
Big shoes. I want to see Osiris D3s.
So then the other one that they think might release in 2020 is the Eternals.
What's happened to Doctor Strange 2 and
That's going to be later.
Black Panther 2? They're
Later.
both 2021, are they?
Likelihood, yeah. Well, yeah, this is. I mean, again, this is all conjecture, but I mean, this is what, with casting news and stuff that's coming out with the Eternals. Millie Bobby Brown's just been a rumor going around about her joining the Eternals. Obviously, like I said last week, we have Angelina Jolie that's been all but confirmed. Richard Madden, potentially.
Well, his star's rising.
Yeah, and Selma Hayek as well.
Salma Hayek, yeah.
Have also been.
But do we like Millie Bobby Brown? I mean, lots of people are really high on her.
I like Millie Bobby Brown. She's cool.
I was a little bit worried when she did the second Godzilla, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I've not seen it, but I think she's probably just cashing in on that.
yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
You
How
would,
old is
yeah.
she? Like 15, 16?
Yeah, maybe 15.
It's quite interesting that like you say, this phase. It'll be interesting to see how they work it with like sequels. It starts with a prequel, and then it's also got a whole new thing
Yeah. Well,
in it.
what I was thinking when I was looking at this kind of stuff earlier was the fact that starting Phase 4, it looks like we're getting a prequel in Black Widow, and Eternals could potentially be a prequel as well. But what also differentiates those two films is the fact that Black Widow is very kind of street level, Earth-based superhero, and the Eternals are very cosmic, which is leading a lot of people to think that Marvel moving forward know they won't be able to do a Thanos level kind of super event again for some time, and so they're going to divulge these characters into two groups, as in we're going to have Earth-based heroes for a while, and maybe like a Earth-based big bad, and then like a galaxy one as well.
Right.
So then you could have like team ups, for example, like with the, say, Captain Marvel, the Eternals, and Guardians of the Galaxy, and like a big like Avengers type movie set out in space.
I'm with you.
And then like a similar thing based on Earth with, well, not Black Widow anymore, obviously, but like Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and have your own kind of Earth-based big bads, like someone that I was like, maybe like Norman Osborn or someone like that, introduce that.
Yeah.
Or Doctor Doom if they can get the Fantastic Four in.
How are you ever going to build on Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, though? Just so good.
I
Maybe
you
get
just,
it back.
You just need to superimpose those.
I mean, they got
again.
John Jonah Jameson back, didn't they?
Yeah.
They bring,
That was a nice... I like that a lot.
yeah.
He's so
That was a
good
nice
in that
little
role.
reference.
But could that possibly mean that this is set in the Tobey Maguire universe?
They're going to bring him back and use the de-aging technology they used
No,
on Samuel
don't
L.
de-age
Jackson.
him.
Don't de-age him?
No, keep him a chubby boy.
How old is Tobey Maguire now?
He's got to be
40.
pushing 40, yeah.
Yeah, you could
No
do
way,
like a you could do like a live action of Into the Spider-Verse,
Yeah.
so he's playing like the older Spider-Man, like the fat old Spider-Man.
44, Tobey Maguire.
Bloody hell.
How old does he look?
About 12.
Do you think they would do, say, like you were saying, Black Panther 2's coming, Doctor Strange 2's coming? Do you think they would do those as one film? Do you think that's coming? You know, because like Thor Ragnarok was kind of like Thor and a Hulk movie. Do you think would it cause too much outrage to do a pairing so they can just get a sequel?
I don't see
out the
what the
way?
advantage would be of that, apart from having your profit margin.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I was just thinking more to like. I guess it depends what the Phase 4 arc's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean they're going back to very like we saw today. They're going back to very like localized films. There will be like a overarching kind of theme to them, I imagine. But why not make another 600-700 million on Black Panther 2 and another 600-700 million on Doctor Strange 2 as well, when they both will have audiences.
True.
Like, so those two and Shang-Chi are likely to be the 2021 releases.
Who's Shang-Chi?
So it'll be the first Asian superhero
Cool.
in the Marvel universe. He's just basically a kung fu master.
Nice.
No superpowers. His dad is a super villain that trained him up to be a super villain as well, and then he kind of went against that.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's like Fu Chang or something. His father.
Okay.
But his dad's like one of the big bads across the MCU. Well, not the MCU, but Marvel Comics.
Oh, right.
But he went the other way.
Here's a thought. Do you think instead of making whoever you said his dad, they'll make the real Mandarin his dad and use that?
No.
But
I thought that was a good idea.
No, because they did that whole short with the real Mandarin that was also played by Ben Kingsley.
and he just turns out to be an actor.
No. That's what happens in Iron Man 3, but then
Yeah.
they did like a short where it is actually still Ben Kingsley, but he's the actual Mandarin and he's in
Oh,
prison.
okay. Right.
So, because in Iron Man 3, he's like, oh yeah, they paid for my plastic surgery.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to assume that he didn't look like that and they made him look like that.
Right. Got you.
See what I mean?
Yeah. Love
That
Ben
should be
Kingsley.
quite a cool one. I think they'll bring that out February 2021 because their February release dates is when they normally like to introduce new characters. So like Black Panther was February last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it last year or year before?
It was last year. It was last year's Oscars, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, of course it was. No, so it'd been the year before. It'd been 2017 then.
Yeah, I just remember it rained a lot when we watched that.
Yeah. So I mean, we're getting Black Panther.
No, Black
2.
Panther 2018.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was
So-
it this Oscars?
12th of February 2018.
It was this Oscars.
Yeah, that's what I'm
January
saying.
just gone. Oh Christ!
Yeah.
Time flies.
What else was I going to ask you about the MCU?
Guardians
Sorry,
3,
I'm asking. Oh, is that in there?
2022 maybe. Well, will it be Guardians of the Galaxy or will it be as Guardians of the Galaxy?
Dave Bautista's got to find a role that he can go back to where he's actually a half passable actor. What was that? Is it Match Day? Is that what it's called? I saw
Never seen that.
there were adverts for it on TV quite a lot, and it looks like this really awful like action film with Dave Bautista trying to be a Jason Statham or Dwayne the Rock Johnson type, and it's set in West Ham's stadium,
Oh really?
the London
Really?
Stadium. Yeah.
Well, because he threatened to walk after they fired James Gunn, didn't he? And then obviously they rehired James Gunn. But that's why it's probably getting pushed back because obviously James Gunn's now
Yeah.
got commitments with Suicide Squad.
The scrolls in at the end. Do you think that's going to have a larger part to play? Any of you guys?
Yeah.
So they need to explain why Fury was out in space. What
Yeah.
they're doing on that big station.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of... You've seen Captain Marvel, haven't you? Yeah. So I imagine he's just out there helping them to set up a new civilization. Or
Well, So Endgame was the last one chronologically, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
at the end of Endgame, when everybody was just on Earth, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't see Nick Fury in Endgame though.
He was at the funeral.
Oh, was
He was. Yeah, so they were all there at the end. Did we hear anything about their future plans then? Did they say anything? I can't remember if they dropped some clue about what they were going to do next.
No.
So maybe that's something that they're going to go into in.
I imagine there'll be the next Captain Marvel will be coming out in the next few years as well. That'll probably be like 2022, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know. They'll obviously explore, like, she wanted to go after the Kree, didn't she?
Yeah.
And help the Skrulls set up a new civilization. But I imagine they might encounter some bad Skrulls as well, some naughty Skrulls.
I still really like Ronan the Accuser as a villain. I was a bit gutted at the end of Guardians because I think there's so much more they could have done with him, and then it really didn't surprise me that they brought him back for Captain Marvel.
Brought him back, but there's no stakes in it anymore, is there? Like, they brought him back, and then might be the antagonist of Captain Marvel 2, but we already know his fate from Guardians 1.
I suppose so, but you can still be an antagonist despite people knowing you eventually die.
Yeah, but it means you're definitely making it out of that movie, though.
I guess so, yeah.
It's the same kind of thing that we were talking about where although I will see it, I'm not that pumped for the Black Widow film because
she's dead. Well, is she dead forever? Who knows?
Is there a
Anything's
multiverse?
possible.
Well, I mean, looks like they're going to be bringing back. They're bringing back Loki firstly because he's going to the DC streaming service, and Vision as well.
Vision's rubbish. I'm sorry. Vision is. I love Paul Bettany as well. I think he's a great actor, but Vision's character was just
Trash.
Oh, awful. Age of Ultron's definitely the worst Avengers film, and he's just a bit pretentious. I mean, I suppose that would happen if you downloaded an AI into a.
I mean, that's the point of him, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but he's so powerful. He's got an Infinity Stone in his head, and he does nothing for
He's
three
not
films.
powerful enough considering he has an Infinity Stone in his head.
Yeah, he's so underpowered. Like, he's so nerfed throughout those films. It really gets on my nerves. He plays a victim for an hour and a half in Avengers.
What do you reckon the next Spider-Man villain's gonna be? Now he's been outed, what do you think the story arc could be?
I don't know.
Where's he headed?
We're not going to be getting
Kingpin.
Spider-Man 3 for at least
Do you think so?
3
Well,
years. What?
only
I
one
kind
can
of
think
thought Kingpin. I don't know why,
I
yeah.
haven't heard anything about Kingpin in Spider-Man for a while.
Do we think
Maybe.
the guy who took the USB stick could become the Kingpin?
Oh, he is bald.
That's where
He's
my
not
mind
big enough
instantly
for
went.
Horny as shit, though.
Kingpin
Well,
is
maybe he goes away and he hits the weights.
Yeah, that's why we don't get the film for 3 years. Just needs to bulk up.
He also needs to put on about 300 pounds.
And about 2 feet of height.
Yeah.
Kingpin's a big man.
Big boy. Yeah. But
What do you
else
think
is
about the Marvel Universe kind of like splitting up into smaller sections? Do you think it's a good idea? Like,
Yeah, because like you said earlier, not everything can be this grand event like Avengers or like Endgame. You do have to go back to each character's roots to some extent to re-establish these larger events that will inevitably happen further down the line.
And people will like different things, won't they? So I mean, I personally prefer the kind of the big grand ones. You know, the bigger the better, really. Kind of the more superhero stuff, you know. But like some people might like the kind of the down to earth ones. You know, they bore me a little bit, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'm not a fan of say Black Widow, for example, because
what about like
so normal or like Hawkeye.
Captain America: Winter Soldier?
Oh, so good.
that I think kind of that's one that goes maybe
Because
against the grain.
that's probably one of the lowest stakes out of the films now. Well, it didn't seem at the time though, did it? But if you look at what's happened since,
So I mean, generally I don't like the ones like that as much. I mean, that was just a really good film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it might be risky to split them. They have to do it, I think, like you said.
Yeah.
But
It can't be all go
different
all
people,
the time.
different people will like different things, so they'll
how
be fine.
cool would it if they ended up setting like 2 Avengers teams up, so like an Earth-based one and a cosmic one, and then did like
Crossover.
Avengers on like Fee Avengers, like a big kind of civil war.
That'd be quite cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, who are we thinking are going to be the main 3 now that
In which team? So
on
obviously,
the Earth team? So
Earth
are
team
we
will-
led to believe that Spider-Man's going to be?
Yeah,
we are pretty much. He's the
Spider-Man,
new
Doctor
Tony Stark.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and then Hawkeye. You've got he's getting a series on the DC.
I find him really boring.
Also, what I didn't realise is these
Does anyone like Hawkeye? Just
Yeah,
Yeah?
Hawkeye's cool.
No.
He has
Like-
the worst quips in the film as well.
No. That bit in Age of Ultron where he's like, we're fighting.
Went to play golf.
No,
Played 18. Shot 18.
yeah.
Ooh.
No, where he's like, I'm on a floating city, surrounded by like hundreds of robots trying to kill me, and I've got a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense.
Yeah, well, he's confirming how lame he is.
It's a rare moment of reflection there for him.
Yeah, imagine if he just
But
went,
he didn't do anything about
oh
it.
my god.
He's like a B-team Katniss Everdeen. Like,
Who would win out of him, Katniss, and Legolas?
And
Well,
the guy that
Legolas,
paints
not-
cakes.
and the guy who makes cakes and paints himself into the landscape. No, Legolas, easily.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
A
Um,
mile. And then Katniss, and then Hawkeye. Actually, no, then the guy who paints himself, then Hawkeye.
What two lame things about Hawkeye? One,
There's
Stop
more than-
bashing on
There's
No,
more
Hawkeye.
than two.
I'll give you my
Stop bashing
my top
over
two.
Hawkeye.
One is in
He's Hawkeye.
Endgame, he has a tattoo sleeve that references himself on it.
What?
You know he's got a sleeve in Endgame.
Right.
On the sleeve it has like himself.
He's
you know,
got a
like
tattoo of himself on
kind
himself.
of, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
kind
his
of like-
comic book character is tattooed into his sleeve, so he's tattooed himself, which is lame, and his hair sucks in that film too.
Yeah, his head does suck in
Yeah.
that film.
I wish when he meets up with his wife at the end, I wish she just raised her hand to his hair and just gave him
Been
a funny
like,
look.
What's this?
Yeah.
Midlife
What happened
crisis,
in this
yeah.
time?
I left you for 5 years and you got a stupid haircut.
Do you know what joke was amazing? That the teacher whose wife pretended she got.
Oh, that went so under the radar.
Yeah, that was so dark, but so good. Yeah,
He's I think he's called Elliot Starr, the actor.
he was
But
so funny.
He's in. I only ever remember him from Knocked Up, and he's not even like a big role in that film. He's the guy who does the Dirty Man Challenge. You know, where Jason Segel's character bets him he'll pay his rent for a year if he doesn't shave
Oh,
or cut his
yeah.
hair for 12 months. And
They
Okay.
end up getting pink eye, don't they?
Body on pillows or something, wasn't it?
And the other teacher is the guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's called Leon. in it.
Yeah.
I don't know the actor, but he was
both
hilarious too.
both the teachers were really funny.
Yeah.
They're both just very deadpan, weren't they?
It's so good.
Like the bit where he went over to, I can't remember the name of the student, but he's like, you got to stop taking pictures of people in
I'm
the
gonna
bathroom,
be the cool
man."
teacher here.
Yeah,
That
I'm
was
going to be
weird.
the cool teacher, yeah.
You gotta stop doing that.
And he had the neck pillow around his neck. Yeah.
Yeah, but and he also had the line. He's like, "I'm a man of science, but there's only one explanation for this, witches." Yeah, they were good comic relief, those two.
Yeah. We got any more thoughts on the future of where the MCU's heading?
To a lot of money is where it's headed.
I'll bury the hatchet somewhat, and I do think Tom Holland is a very good Spider-Man. I think he's a good
Oh.
actor in this. But the film itself,
Can this be our Instagram clip of the week?
the film itself, I didn't enjoy a massive amount. I thought it was okay. I thought it was too long. I don't know if you thought that. I thought it was far too long for what it was.
I was starting to get a bit
How
bored
long was
towards
it?
the end.
It felt
good 2 hours.
Yeah.
Thought it was alright. Just right length.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried at first when they defeated the elementals. I
Yeah.
thought that was short. But what's next?
Just end credits.
Yeah.
I did really think it was going to answer more questions to a wider universe. I was really expecting to come out and be like, oh my god, where are they going? But now it's just like...
They like finishing phases with just like a smaller film though. Like I think Ant-Man finished the last phase, and I can't remember what finished the phase before that. But yeah, it's I don't know. No, I thought it was a good film. I mean, they did well with what they had, and obviously they coming off the back of Endgame to still be that much of a commercial success shows that like superhero fatigue isn't really a thing at the moment, is it?
What it is for me, I'm kind of...
Are you done?
I still kind of feel the fatigue a bit. Yeah, this was good. I liked it, and I'm interested to know what they do with Spider-Man, but I really...
Well, there will be some time between now, the next big thing.
Yeah.
And I think by then it's fine.
Yeah, I
there's
hope
nothing
so.
more
Pacing
this
themselves the
year.
right way.
That's good. Yeah, I'm glad that. So the next thing coming is going to be March next year. Is that what you're saying? February.
I don't know if there's a date yet.
I guess we'll find out. You said next week's Comic Con, right?
Next week is next Saturday is they're in Hall H.
Okay.
Like 5 o'clock or something. So yeah, we'll get a lot more answers. So that next week we'll... What are you laughing at?
I like that you always specify they're going to be in Hall H.
Hall H is like the big main one.
Oh, okay. Is there significance
It's a
behind
thing,
it?
yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize. I thought you just. I don't know. It's just like a really specific level of detail. So they're going to be in room 305.
No, it's like a famous thing.
Was that a Shining reference?
Might have been.
No, that was not a Shining reference.
Wasn't it?
What do you mean?
Was it?
The room number.
Is it 3 or 5?
It's not
I
305.
don't think it's 3 or 5.
I don't think it is.
No.
Also, it's different in the film as it is in the book. He's looking it up.
Well, yeah, we need to look it up.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think it's right. Damn
I feel like there's a 1 and a 6 in there.
it. 237, I think it is.
Oh, miles off.
1 and a 6, 2, 3, 7.
I was actually going for that Jim Carrey film. What's that? Room.
No, it's just 21.
No, it's
isn't
the
it?
555. Was it like 555 1 2 3 or something? Oh, there's pager. Oh, sorry, I'm
What?
thinking you.
No, there's a
like
Jim Carrey film,
Yeah.
which is like room
Numbers, is it
1308
I
or
was thinking
something.
Bruce Almighty.
It's not room though, is it? I thought.
Oh
it was
no, the number 23. Is
number
that it?
23.
Yeah, I was thinking number 23 too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
Anyway, so, I mean, we've almost got through a podcast now, and I haven't attacked any Hollywood actor. This feels wrong.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, you've even buried the hatchet.
Yeah.
What's
Well, I
that?
mean, I don't like him, but I think he's a good actor.
I don't know what we're doing next week.
Yeah, there's plenty going around. I think we talked about Midsummer as well, the horror that came out.
Yeah, I really want to watch that, but
I'm not good with scary
I'm
films.
a bit too scared to watch it.
Yeah.
Actually, no. From what Harry was saying last night, that he watched it and it's not like jump scary. It's just
psychological. But
like
those ones are the ones that get me.
unsettling.
Yeah, those
No,
get me
see,
far
I'm
more.
fine with that.
No.
I'm
So yeah, either
So we don't know.
yeah, I mean either something around maybe Midsummer or we'll probably announce on Twitter after this episode comes out what the plan for the next one is. I
Yeah,
would say.
I think
yeah,
it's
we'll
fun.
have a talk off mic. And
Yeah.
see what we fancy.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us, Larry.
Yeah, pleasure to have you.
Pleasure, yeah, pleasure being here.
I'm sure.
He's such a well-raised young man.
He's got one leg crossed over the other one.
It's very classy. Yeah, and I guess all the normal shout-outs, Twitter, Instagram.
Did we ever find out that American guy's name?
Oh yeah, it was like user 135477. So we don't know. His
Is he
name.
an
135477.
Is he an inmate? He's come out of prison. He doesn't want to identify by his name anymore. So he just goes by his prison number.
Last week I gave a shout out to Tristan.
Yeah.
Turns out I forgot to mention his wife.
Oh.
And
Who also had to sit through 2 hours of us talking.
his endearing wife, Kat. But also, this is quite cool. We have our youngest listener ever. So they have a 6-month-old baby. And when they listen to this...
What did he think?
The baby started crying.
No, looked very confused apparently, but didn't know what to make of it. But I think enjoyed it nonetheless. So,
Can't work out why I'm attacking Rami Malek.
so yeah, shout out to Tristan, Kat, and Piran is his name.
Oh, that's a
Aw.
nice name.
Yeah, Cornish. I thought
Yeah.
you'd like that.
Like St. Piran,
Yeah, exactly.
like patron saint of Cornwall.
Living in Australia.
That's
Love
a nice
it.
name. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening.
Yep.
See ya.
We're so good at finishing podcasts. Finishing podcasts. Finishing podcasts. Finishing podcasts. Finishing podcasts.